Now we are on the munch of Sanjeevani. It's United Against Cancer. All of you are survivors. And it is perhaps to take the story of hope forward and multiple challenges. So if I may start with you, Lisa. You went public with the diagnosis and you chose the platform of the Toronto Film Festival. That takes a lot of courage. Now, where do you find that courage and why did you do it?
Thank you, first of all, and thank you for having me here. I'm very honored to be sharing the stage with Yuvraj, who's I'm a great admirer of his superhero qualities, which for me I define, sorry, I don't really actually watch cricket, if you can believe it or not. Okay. But, you know, for his incredible resilience and also the philanthropy that has followed his battle. And Anurag, of course, I am a great admirer of your craft. And then, you know, my admiration goes even deeper after understanding what you've been through as well. Yeah, so, you know, I think that cancer as a disease is also so multi-layered, and I think that there's a lot of misunderstanding. There's so many different types of cancers, and each cancer comes with its own prognosis, diagnosis. It's actually all put in one bucket, but they're very different. And you know, the point of that is that each patient, their journey is so incredibly individual. And I guess for me, when I was diagnosed, I was 37. And you might say I was riding on a bit of a high in life. At the same time, I was ignoring a lot of the signals that my body was giving me. Okay. And, you know, like everyone, I was sort of had fallen prey to that hustle culture. And if I was feeling really fatigued, I would just, you know, maybe cut out my rice, drink more coffee. But, you know, I do anything except go to the doctor, which is my bad. And finally, I couldn't ignore the signs, and you know, the investigations led to me being diagnosed with multiple myeloma. And it just so happened that everything coincided. I was diagnosed in August of 2009, and I had a film coming out in the Toronto Film Festival in September 2009. So I was obviously put in a very strange situation. Because I immediately started treatment, and part of my treatment was steroids, very, very heavy steroids, and anyone who's been on steroids knows that they will actually change your appearance. So I bloated up, you know, I was 40 pounds overweight, and that's not a big deal when you're saving your life, but when you have to step on the red carpet, it's a bit of a big deal. So I had to make a very quick choice about whether I hide or I could actually use this particular event of being on the red carpet, which is often used to talk about glamour or film release, or in the case of women, you know, often women are sort of criticized and, you know, basically torn apart, you know, on the red carpet. I realized that I could actually subvert that moment to, first of all, talk about my cancer, which is a very relatively rarer cancer. You might call it an orphan cancer. And as we all know in the cancer community, the louder, more strident cancers get more research money and more attention. So I realized maybe, even though I was grappling with this really distressing situation, I thought maybe I can actually use this situation, first of all, to bring a little bit of attention to my cancer. Second of all, I felt like maybe it will break this stigma, because I personally could not understand why everybody around me was advising me not to speak about my cancer publicly. It didn't make any sense, because first of all, I didn't feel I was to blame. And then second of all, we know that cancer is something that is becoming more epidemic. Yes. You know, everybody knows someone who's affected. So why are we pretending? Why are we hiding this? Where does the shame come from? And the third question, which was even more deeply personal, was I had actually always felt very deeply uncomfortable on the red carpet. I didn't feel I belonged there. I didn't like being, you know, sort of critiqued and pulled apart as a woman, or simply only judged on my appearance. So I felt that I could take all of these three factors and put them together, stand on the red carpet, 40 pounds heavier than my normal weight, but actually feel very empowered by this moment. And, when I wrote my book about it, I said that actually my shoes don't fit because my feet were so swollen, but ironically, I actually stepped into my body in that moment. And it also gave me purpose. When you're fighting cancer, for me personally, I guess I needed to also find a greater purpose, something larger than myself, also to distract myself. So to be honest, it wasn't courage. It was all of those reasons.
But it still was a lot of gumption to be able to do that. And if I may just quickly back to you, Lisa, on the relapse that happened in 2012, that's a double whammy. How do you deal with that? Okay, you found the courage, the grit, the determination to fight it once. How do you fight it again? What went through you then?
So the second round was obviously significantly different. I'd learned so much more about myself, my disease. And I just felt, because the first one was a huge slap in the face, because it was sudden and dramatic. The second, when I relapsed, we were monitoring my protein levels in my blood, the protein marker in my blood, so I could see slowly the relapse was happening. So my oncologist sort of prepared me. She said, you have to go in for treatment again. And in my case, it often means a stem cell transplant, which is not a picnic, not something I would actually advise. But I just felt deep inside that, look, I'm missing some part of the puzzle. Like there is a message coming to me beyond myself. Secondly, I just gotten married. So I was like, I have to fight this disease. Otherwise, my husband's going to want a refund very quickly. Like we had literally just gone through the shadi, everything like that, setting up a new house, etc. I don't know where, you could say that I have a quality that, my mother would have argued was very irritating, but has somewhere come in handy. I'm very stubborn. I'm very stubborn, so when I see a challenge, I refuse to back down. And I think that I understood with my relapse that my body, again, was trying to communicate something to me. So what I ended up doing, that's when I ended up taking the holistic world, or what we call complementary, alternative, I don't know the exact terminology you want to use, that I'm aligned with, and mix that very, enmesh that with allopathic medicine.
Okay.
Because I decided to go back on maintenance therapy, so I was taking the drugs that my oncologist advised, but I also went off and changed my lifestyle, it's very enlightening to hear also like the way that Luke described it, of enmeshing the two. That really is something that somehow or the other I stumbled upon through trial and error. And I went off to a retreat center called the Hippocrates Health Institute. And this is a very famous thing. I know it's been said before, but it bears saying again that Hippocrates, all the doctors take the Hippocratic Oath, right? In order not to harm patients, etc. But Hippocrates apparently very famously said, let food be thy medicine. And we don't talk about that enough. And so in this center, I learned a lot more about, lifestyle changes, how to feed myself. We did a lot of, alternative things without ever giving up my medication. So it was not one at the expense of the other. It was actually became a beautiful marriage. And you might say that I'm still propped up by that marriage even today. So that's, and by the way, a very quick thing. So my oncologist was very skeptical about all of this. But I went off and I did my treatments, and I saw a lot of also people who helped me, also emotionally, spiritually, all of that stuff, while taking my medication. After 3 months, I went back and saw my oncologist, and we were supposed to prepare for my stem cell transplant. And my cancer was gone. It was gone.
Wow.
And you know what she said to me, of course, being a good clinician, but now she had become a friend, she said, listen, I don't want to know what you're doing, but just keep doing it, whatever you're doing.
Yeah, day in and day out, you've got to do it. Big round of applause for Lisa Ray. You can go on endlessly in terms of conversations, because there are so many lessons. Every line she said, there is a lesson to be learned. Just like there is a lesson to be learned from the man who was told that he's just got 2 weeks, and that was what, 20 years ago? 2004. So it'll be 20 years in 2024.
Yeah.
You're going to be a parent, and leukemia hits you. And here you are, Anurag Basu. Tell us your story.
Yeah, in a typical Bollywood screenplay, when everything is going right for the main protagonist, there is a twist in the tail waiting for him.
He will
And he will
empathize, he'll
relate and
understand.
she will relate. अभी दुखों का पहाड़ फूटेगा उसके ऊपर और फिर फूटता है. So same thing happened. My film was hit. I was signed super hit, and I was signed by many producers. My wife was pregnant, and then this happened. And yeah, so I was being treated in a hospital where the doctor said 2 weeks. Because I don't blame them, because the line of treatment they were, I was going through is not working on my body, and I was deteriorating every day. Then I got shifted to Tata Hospital, and so it was. I remember when I was shifted to Tata Hospital, and I was actually bleeding buckets of blood that time. Every internal organ were bleeding inside, and when I thought I would die in an ambulance when I was shifted to Tata Hospital, I was so bad. And immediately after Tata Hospital, I reached there. I was taken to ventilator. I was inside the ventilator for 3 weeks, actually, in fact. So it's nice if you talk about willpower and miracle, I'm here, but actually it's my oncologist, my doctor, because I was senseless. I was in my ventilator. I didn't know what was happening with me. And my family was suffering. My caregiver, my family, my wife, my mother, my father. I was senseless. So I think we all have different paths, different ways to recover. We all are, but bottom line is, the decades of research done by scientists and the doctors, they have made the recovery easier. And I've personally seen my doctors, Dr. Banavli, Dr. Badwe and his team there. Yes. They are amazing people. I've seen them. The day in an oncologist's life is much longer than ours. I believe I'm a workaholic, but they are work fanatic. They are amazing. And it takes a lot of courage. This, I think, and it's very important for any treatment to have that trust with your doctor. Yeah. And yeah, that was it. And so yeah, first after the whole when I came back to the ICU, the first hurdle was over. I was out of ventilator. Yeah, then there was a small fight. The first thing I really wanted, I was not sure how long I'm going to live because my body was saying I'm not well. So I made small target. The first target I made, I want to see my baby's face. Yeah. That's the first thing I told myself. That kept me moving actually. I just really wanted to. So that's how I just.
So 2 weeks became 2 months, 2 months became 2 years, and
yes,
now
absolutely.
It's going to be 20.
All thanks to my doctors and the team, amazing dedicated team of Tata Hospital. I would not take any credit because...
Did you change anything? Kuch badla apne after that? Did you change anything in your lifestyle, in your approach to life?
Lifestyle तो देख रहे हो आप थोड़ा सा मैं वजन lifestyle बहुत ज़्यादा बदला नहीं, sorry. लेकिन हाँ मतलब outlook towards life got changed completely. I see life differently now. My movies got changed. The story I tell got changed. अपने आप हो गया ऐसे. It was effortlessly, and yeah, actually what, it never, I embraced cancer very soon. I never questioned. I didn't have that syndrome of why me, why now. That never sinked in actually. That really helped me to recover faster.
Yeah. If you don't get into that self-victimization, self-pity kind of thing, aa gaya, chalo kuch karte hain. Let's do something about it.
Exactly.
But it's not as easy, isn't it, UV? Man of the series, 2011 World Cup, everything's going for you, start of the moment, and suddenly this entire talk about the diagnosis, I still remember. Not easy. And you've gone further, you've not just beaten it, you've come back, and then you've started UV Can, so it's a lovely journey. But take us through, how did you pull through? Kaise kiya?
Well, first of all, listening to Mr. Basu's story. Obviously, I heard about it, but when you actually listen to it, you can actually relate to what the person has gone through. And obviously, with Lisa, hearing her story, it amazes me that she's done it twice. She fought twice. I would say probably the strongest person in the room right now. I don't think if I would have to go through it again, how would I fight it? So, it's easier said than done. Yes, you don't watch cricket, but I watched a lot of your films and had a big crush on you when I was younger.
I knew this was coming.
I thought it's a cancer event. I shouldn't be saying these things, but I'm an honest guy.
No, but you're not the only one. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm sure.
You
बाकी लोगों के पास mic नहीं है ना. Mic मेरे पास है तो मैं बोल सकता हूँ. But coming back to being a survivor in the room, being a fighter, I think when you talk about, when I relate to people on the dais, I think it's a fight within. It's a struggle from inside, which only you understand, and your family members have gone through. Like Lisa, if I would relate to your husband, probably would be very proud of that guy that he stood by you when you got diagnosed of cancer again. So in our families, my mother has seen me. It's like she's giving me birth twice because she was there through the journey. And as you said, 2011 World Cup, when we won, probably the highlight of my career. We won the World Cup after 28 years. I was, 29 years old. I was probably the peak of my career. I was speaking towards, maybe breaking some more records, but unfortunately, when the doctor told me that I have cancer, I'm like, this guy is definitely not a doctor, because how can I have cancer? I'm an athlete who trains 5-6 hours a day. I eat well. I'm a superior gene, which I'm not. Now I understood that. And life strikes you in a way which you are not expecting. And you realize that you're just another human being. And that obviously I started searching that more than 8 lakh people in India were going through cancer. And then you realize that, it can happen to you. So it took me a while to come to terms with it. And I was playing and I was getting worse. And then eventually my doctor said that you have 3 to 6 months left. Now it's your choice. You want to go on the cricket field, die there, or come and get treated. I was like, I don't mind dying actually, because I don't want to stop playing. That was my biggest fear, and we all have fears. I think the fear of cancer is more than actually going through the treatment, because it scares you for life. And as Lisa said that, she spoke about it, and I thought, when I was hiding away from it, and when I came to terms with it, I was like, this is my time to talk about it. And, be inspiration for people out there that I'm fighting it. I'm sure people in your family are fighting it, and, together we can do this. I mean, that was the whole reason of me coming up with my foundation, that UV Can meant was that we together can fight cancer. That was the reason why I wanted to come back and do something for my society. And, realizing that how cancer is harming our society. So I think through the journey, I got a lot of inspiration out of it, inspired a lot of people. And here I am with the survivors in the room, marching forward.
Let me put this to all of you. I'll start with you, UV, and then Anurag, and then we'll come through to Lisa. What would you peg, because the idea is one screening, the other one is, detection, then you look at treatment. The earlier you detect, the earlier you screen, the better. But in your experiences, what is the one thing, if is changed, you stand a higher probability of beating this disease?
Well, as Anurag said, that your perspective changes of life, and you might look weak from the outside, but you're much stronger from the inside. And Obviously, your lifestyle changes, you have to change your diet and you have to look after your body like a little baby. But the point is that mentally it definitely makes you stronger from inside. And like early on, probably if you break a finger, break a leg, you go through surgery, you're always thinking, why me? And I think after cancer, like everything becomes very secondary now because you've gone through such a tough battle in life, everything becomes like, it's just fever. It's going to subside in 2 days. I broke my leg, probably will fine in a month. So everything looks pretty mediocre. And then your perspective in life changes that I am ready now for anything in life, whatever comes. And I think that's the kind of inspiration you want to bring out in people who are following you, who listen to you. That if I can come back to where I belonged, I'm sure you can come out from your adversity as well. I think that's the kind of people we've become now.
Did your body change or did your psyche change when you recovered and then you wanted to get back onto the cricket field, right? You wanted to prove to yourself. How difficult was that? Or did you feel that kuch to badal gaya hai, it's going to be tough?
Definitely my body changed and obviously, put on weight, and I just looked at myself in the mirror. I had no hair. I didn't like the look of it. And I mean, you come to terms with it, and then I want to get back on the field. People said that I won't be able to play again. I came back and played in 6 months. I was not fully fit. I went back to training, went to training for almost a year. Took me a year and a half to get back to full fitness, and it was just mind over matter. And everybody said that he would not be able to play again, and I came back and scored my highest one-day score. So it is you who has to decide your journey, not what people's opinion about you.
But where do you find the strength? Two parts, Anurag ji. I want to ask you this. Did you ever think, okay, I've got it, you accepted it. Did you go back and think, how did I get it? Not about why did I get it, how did I get it? And the other aspect is, can everybody really dig deep in their heart and their head, say, all right, I've got it, let me fight this out? It's not that easy as it is to say it.
Yeah, as I said, everybody has their own method to fight it. And yeah, I had that question, why, from where, reasons. I asked everybody, I Googled, I asked my doctors, but nobody knew the real reason why I got that cancer. And I'll tell you my method. I just tell you, I just made small targets for myself because I couldn't get up off the bed, and there was this bench, the stool, which was just 2 feet away. And it took me 1.5 weeks actually to go there and sit there on my own. So that was my first target. I will go there and sit on my own. Then the next was to go to the loo. I wanted to go to the loo myself, so it took me another week. So I created small targets for myself. Then coming out of the hospital, going on set. In fact, Gangster I shot. Everybody told me not to shoot during chemotherapy. I asked my doctor, Dr. Banavli, I said, sir, I'll take all my precautions, let me shoot. And I think I was in Korea, I was shooting that film. And I had all the mask on and everything. And so I shot Gangster during my chemo. And wow. So that was, so I think by working, that kept me away because, it's the only thing, which makes me positive is the work, creative work, thinking of stories, directing. The thing I love, whatever, you love, whatever you're passionate about, put your mind into that. And that becomes easier to fight the disease, actually. I thought I should be going on set and directing movies to fight with it. So that was my method, actually.
So stick to your passion and love your passion to
yeah, absolutely. Whatever drives you, whatever makes you happy.
Whatever makes you happy.
Yeah, I made a playlist of Kishore Kumar's song because it made me happy. I used to listen to that in hospitals. Whatever made me happy. I did everything, whatever made me happy. And more than that, your caregivers, your people who are close to you also have that mindset. Your mother, your father, your wife, they should have that mindset because, you're looking at their faces every day. They are coming to you. And
that's true. And I wanted to ask you that. Did you ever worry that It's the look, it's the way my husband looks at me, it's the way my loved ones look at me. Is that going to change? Were you looking for that change in the look? And because that perhaps is the biggest hit on you, right? Because you feel that if they've given up on me, who's going to back me out? Did that worry you?
Yeah, that's a very interesting and good question. See, fortunately, in my second round, I didn't lose my hair, I didn't change physically. I actually improved physically because, you know, of my story of combining my allopathic and my holistic. The first time round, I changed significantly. And, you know, I remember I took a selfie of myself and I started writing a blog.
The Yellow Diaries.
The Yellow Diaries. Yeah, you've done very good research. And, you know, the secret today that I can share is that I actually am a thwarted writer, or now not so thwarted. I'm an accidental actress. I always wanted to be a writer. And, you know, again, when you're dealing with cancer and your mortality, and, you know, you have nothing to lose. You just throw yourself out there, just like what you were saying, Anurag. I realized that I've always loved writing more than anything else, even acting. So I said, how do I get through this? Let me write. So I chronicled my, you know, my experiences in this blog that later on turned into a book, and now I'm writing my next book. And that is, you know, it's ironic that cancer helped me to really commit to a passion that I'd hidden my whole life. So there were unexpected gifts, but of course you have to survive cancer in order to discover them. But I wanted to actually say something, sorry, circle back to something that Anurag had said about, you know, again, the appreciation he was expressing to his doctors and, you know, the medical community. I want to just share that my disease, multiple myeloma, when I was diagnosed in 2009, I was given approximately 5 years to live. And, you know, if you had been diagnosed a decade before me, because I know someone who had been, you were given 1 to 2 years to live. And today, if you are diagnosed with multiple myeloma, it is almost transformed into becoming a chronic disease, as in something that is like diabetes. You know, you take your medication, and maybe it's not fun, perhaps you have to do a stem cell transplant, but there is today so much hope, and the prognosis for patients has been radically transformed. And this we owe a huge debt to the medical community. You know, so I want to thank again all the doctors, all the researchers, everything that goes into extending patients' lives, because I understand what it takes. Research takes many, many years, and then getting a drug to the market takes so many years, and it's really painstaking. And sometimes, perhaps, you know, even great researchers, even doctors might not see the patient at the end of it. So as the patient sitting here, as all of us maybe, we all really want to thank you all for the great work that you do. You know, we're here today because of you. And because of the advancements in the medical community. And, you know, I keep track of things. You know, I make it my business now to keep track of innovations that are coming along in cancer therapies. I know that, for instance, immuno-oncology is huge in blood cancers now, right?
Yes.
There's like huge, incredible hope and promise that's happening in immuno-oncology. So we have to keep talking about that. What we need to do is spread this word of hope. You know, also, not just patients, but I think to society in general. Because I want to share one other little anecdote. You know, I have a very dear friend, and I know that this is quite typical, and she's just been feeling under the weather. And I was with her in Bombay, and I said, you should just go and get yourself checked, you know, just go and check all your markers. And her first reaction was like, no, I don't want to know. I don't want to check anything. And I said, you think that if you don't get tested, somehow you won't know, but like everything will be fine? And, you know, I don't want to judge her, but I just want to highlight this fact is that a lot of us do live in that. Like, I was that person, you know, before I was diagnosed. Now I'm completely transformed, and I'm the first one, like, I will take you by the hand and take you to the doctor, you know, if I really care about you and I want you to get checked. But I was someone who avoided also doctors and, the medical fraternity as much as possible until the last possible minute. And that's why we need to discuss this, because there's no reason for that fear anymore, because first of all, we're sitting here today. We all have gone through our journeys. They've all been really difficult. But not just that. I mean, again, medicine has evolved so much. And also early detection, really, like we always say, prevention is better than the cure. Right? So that's really what we should be talking about.
Well, time's up for this conversation, but with the promise that we'll continue this through the course, and it doesn't end here. This is just the beginning. Yuvraj, Anurag, and Lisa, big round of applause to them. Thank you so much for joining us here on this platform that is Sanjeevani, where we plan to be united against cancer. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.